Okay. Hello, peoples. Forgot to deal with that today. Oh well. We're just gonna have a green screen in the back because I did not fix that last night, but that's okay. I went on last night and I was trying to make my Twitch look a little more professional, so I was going through overlays and all that and got all this set up last night, so that's exciting. But yeah, I didn't do my background thing, so green screen it is for today. How's everybody doing? Having a good day? I am glad it's Friday. I am exhausted. I didn't even want to get out of bed this morning because it's been a busy week. But yeah, I'm having fun doing this. And I like, I don't know, I think it gives me more motivation to do my other YouTube stuff too, so. Yeah. Figured I'd just try out Twitch for a while and see how it's all going. So, what did we read yesterday? Now I'm trying to remember. So yesterday we did Noah's lineage. Oh, and the Tower of Babel. And we just read about Abraham and Sarai and how they had gone to the Pharaoh. And oh yeah, he told Sarai to pretend that she was his sister, so that the Pharaoh would take her as her wife, or didn't take her. He didn't want her to be taken and him to be killed, but he still took Sarai anyway into his harem. So that was interesting. And then God cursed the Pharaoh. And I think that's all we talked about yesterday. So I'm gonna assume that we're gonna pick up where after all that happened. So we'll see what happens to Abraham and Sarai after that, I guess. So we're gonna start on Genesis 13. If I can find it. Alrighty. Abraham went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and everything he had, and Lot with him, into Negev. Abraham became wealthy, with much cattle, silver, and gold. As he went on his travels from the Negev, he came to Bet-El, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bet-El and Ai, where he had first built the altar, and there Abraham called on the name of Adonai. Lot, who was traveling with Abraham, also had flocks, herds, and tents, but the land could not support their living together, because their possessions were too great for them to remain together. Moreover, quarreling arose between Abraham and Lot's herdsmen. The Canaanite and the Perizzite were then living in the land. Abraham said to Lot, "Please, let's not have quarreling between me and you, and between my herdsmen and yours, since we're kinsmen. Isn't the whole land there in front of you? Please separate yourselves from me. If you go to the left, I will go to the right, and if you go to the right, I will go to the left." Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered everywhere, before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Adonai, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Tazor. So Lot chose all the plain of the Jordan for himself, and Lot traveled eastward. Thus they separated themselves from each other. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain, setting up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were evil, committing great sins against Adonai. Adonai said to Abram, "After Lot has moved away, look around you from where you are to the north and the south, and the east and the west. All the land I will give to you and your descendants forever, And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust of the earth, so that if a person can count the specks of dust on the earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and breadth of the land, because I will give it to you. Abram moved his tent and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Havron. There he built an altar to Adonai. When Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arkoyar king of Elasar, Bible names, man, Kedorla Omer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim. They made war together. I've lost my place. Okay. All the latter kings joined forces in the Siddim Valley where the Dead Sea is. They served Calotamor 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the king with him came and defeated Rephaim in Ashrot, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shiva Koratium, and the Horai at Seir, their mountain, all the way to El Paran by the desert. Next they turned back, came to Kadesh, and defeated all the country of the Amalekite and also the Amorite, who lived in the Hazatzon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Tezoivim, and Bela came out and arranged themselves for battle in the Siddim Valley against King Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal king of Goyim, Amraphel king of Admah, and our king of Elars. 4 kings against the 5. Man, these Bible names are hard. Be glad when I get to the New Testament where it's just like Peter, John, James. The easier ones. Now the Siddim Valley was full of clay pits, and when the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, while the rest fled into the hills. The victors took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and their food supply. Then they left. But as they left, they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Someone who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. He was living by the oaks of the Mamre, the Emori, brother of the Eshcol, and brother of Arner, all of them allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken captive, he led out his trained men who had been born into his house. During the night, he and his servants divided his forces against them. Then they attacked and pursued them along the way to Hova, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his nephew Lot with his goods, together with the women and other people, after his return from slaughtering Kedorlaomer and the kings with him. The king of Sodom went out to meet him in the Shiva Valley, also known as King's Valley. Melchizedek, king of Shalom, brought out bread and wine. He was Kohen of El, God Most High, so he blessed him with these words. Blessed be Abram by El Elyon, maker of heaven and earth. Blessed be El Elyon, who handed your enemies over to you. Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram answered to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand in an oath to Adonai, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a thread or a sandal of anything that is yours, so that you won't be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will take only what my troops have eaten and share the spoils belonging to the men who came with me. Anir, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them have their share. Sometime later, the word of Adonai came to Abram in a vision. Don't be afraid, Abram. I am your protector. Your reward will be great. Abram replied, Adonai God, what good will your gifts be to me if I continue to be childless, and Elzer from Damascus inherits my possessions? You haven't given me a child, Abram continued, so someone born in my house will be my heir. But the word of Adonai came to him, This man will not be your heir. No, your heir will be a child from your own body. Then he brought him outside and said, Look up to the sky and count the stars. If you can count them, your descendants will be that many. He believed in Adonai, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Then he said, I am Adonai, who brought you out from Ur, to give you this land as your possession. He replied, Adonai God, how am I to know that I will possess it? He answered him, Bring me a 3-year-old cow, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a dove, and a young pigeon. He brought him all these, cut the animals in two, and placed the pieces opposing each other, but he didn't cut the birds in half. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Horror and great darkness came over him. Adonai said to Abram, Know this for certain, your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression there for 400 years. But I will also judge that nation, the one that makes them slaves. Afterwards, they will leave with many possessions. As for you, you will join your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. Only in the 4th generation will your descendants come back here, because only then will the Amorite be ripe for punishment. After the sun had set, there was a thick darkness. A smoke fire pot and a flaming torch appeared, which passed between these animal parts. That day Adonai made a covenant with Abram. I have given this land to your descendants, from the valley of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates River, the territory of the Keni, the Kenezi, the Kadami, the Hittite, the Pharizee, the Rephaim, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Girgashite, and the Yevuzi. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had not bore him a child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, Here now, Adonai has kept me from having children, so go in and sleep with my slave girl. Maybe I'll be able to have children through her. Abram listened to what Sarai said. It was after that Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan that Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian, her slave girl, and gave her to Abram, her husband, to be his wife. Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she conceived. But she became aware that she was pregnant. She looked on her mistress with contempt. Sarai said to Abram, This outrage being done to me is your fault. True, I gave my slave girl to you to sleep with. But when she saw that she was pregnant, she began holding me in contempt. May Adonai decide who is right, I or you. However, Abram answered Sarai, Look, she's your slave girl. Deal with her as you see fit. Then Sarai treated her so harshly that she ran away. The angel of Adonai found her by a spring in the desert, the spring on the road to Shur, and said, Hagar, Sarai's slave girl, where have you come from, and where are you going? Go back to your mistress and submit to her authority. The angel of Adonai said to her, I will greatly increase your descendants. There will be so many that it will be impossible to count them. The angel of Adonai said to her, Look, you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You are to call him Ishmael, because Adonai has paid attention to your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man, with his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, living his life at odds with all of his kinsmen. So she named Adonai, who had spoken to her, El, because she said, I have, sorry, have I really seen the one who sees me? This is why the well has been called Berlashi Roy, well of the one who lives and sees. It lies between Kadesh and Bored. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the son, whom Hagar had borne, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael. Also, that's our reading for today. Get to learn all about the fun stuff about Abraham and his descendants. So, yeah. That was good. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. Yeah, how do people read that and not see, like, that was an angel from God, and he said, go back and just do what she says. Like, if that was God, and God was telling the angel to do that, like, there's a problem. Because the Christian God that they claim they follow doesn't allow slavery and all this stuff. But, I mean, that angel literally told her to go back and just be a doormat to the lady that she was supposed to be a doormat to. So, it's really disgusting. I just feel, I honestly hope that a lot of these stories, are just stories and not how people treated each other. But I have a feeling that even if these people weren't real, there were real people who had to deal with a lot of this stuff, because this is how their culture lived, which was not great. And it really frustrates me because I've looked into, like, other cultures, and there's other cultures that were around the same time that didn't treat women as property, and they didn't treat women as slaves. Like, they let women have rights, and it's really frustrating because when I talk to Christians, like, they don't see that because they don't look into, like, other cultures and stuff. So when I look into it and I see that there were other cultures that actually saw women as people, and then you have this tribe out in the middle of the desert who they don't see women as people, and they take all of their rights away, and they're literally just slaves to their husbands and slaves to whoever else they need to be slaves to. It's disgusting. And I don't know. I have not heard any good arguments from anybody. Yeah, I don't understand it at all. And it's so sad because, like, when I was in the church, I talked to a lot of the older women, and there's a lot of older women who, like, they either married, like, horrible men who abused them, and they stayed with them because they thought that's what God wanted, or they married horrible men, and the men ended up running off on them, and then they were stuck with their kids and stuff, and there was nothing they could do. Because a lot of them, like, this was, like, the 50s and 60s where they were having kids, and, like, they just had to deal with the situation because that horrible person ran off. So, I don't know. I feel really bad for those women in the church because I feel like a lot of women go through that and no one's there to help them. Yeah, they blame the women, And it's really sad because, like, during those times, they really need people to be, like, supportive and loving, and, I don't know. I mean, when I was in the church, I felt like people were supporting and loving, but there was also a lot of victim blaming when it came to that kind of stuff, and it just makes me sad, but it makes me upset too, because it's just a toxic culture to be in altogether. And as a woman, you're so, like, groomed into that system that you don't even see what's wrong with it. Like, you're just like, this is what God gave me, so this is what I have to deal with. And it's really sad. And honestly, I wish I could reach more of the women in the church, because I think a lot of women and children go through things they shouldn't, and they have no way of protecting themselves, because the church is just like, well, he's a man of God, so you have to just deal with it. It makes me sad. But I can't, like, unbrainwash people who have brainwashed themselves and have been raised in it. Like, they have to make the decision to leave that toxic environment. And I think that's a big reason why I do what I do, is because I want people to see how toxic this religion really is, and how it's not healthy for anyone. It's not healthy for anyone who's in an abusive relationship. It's not healthy for people with mental problems. Like, I struggle with horrible anxiety, and it's gotten way better since I left the church, because I would literally, like, beat myself up in my head and tell myself that I was worthless and I was never going to live up to the standards God wanted. And it was mental abuse of myself every single day. And I don't think anyone should have to deal with that. And I think about people who have, like, depression and all these other things, and instead of going to counselors and making sure that they're healthy and they're taken care of, and maybe get on medication that they might need to make their mental state more balanced, like, they won't do that, because the church tells them, oh, well, it's just you need to just pray more, you need to just focus on God more. And it doesn't do anything. You just sit there hoping that you're gonna change, and you don't take action. And this invisible God that they claim is there is not gonna take action either, because there's nothing there. They're just wishing on a star that all of it will go away, and that's not how reality works. And we need to live in reality, because all the people who don't live in reality really struggle and really have a lot of issues that they can't deal with, because they live in this fantasy world. Yeah, that's a big thing too, Jade. I definitely, I'm with you on that, because I didn't even know, like, I had, like, the things that were going on in my mind and stuff were anxiety. Like, I had no idea until I went and talked to a doctor, and, like, actually went and saw a therapist, and they're like, yeah, you have anxiety, and you have all these things from your past, and, like, we need to talk about them and get you healthy, and get you on some medication. And yeah, my life has been so much better, because letting go of those religious ideas, that helped. That just took, like, a huge weight off of my shoulder, and helped me see, like, this is not healthy. This is not how things work. Like, my brain is literally, like, broken and needs to be fixed. Yeah. And yeah, I had to get on medication, because that stress and that anxiety that I get all the time, like, that wasn't just gonna go away. Like, that, I need something to help me with that. And I'm glad I got help too, and I'm glad that I was able to see that the way I was raised and the way I was told how to deal with things in the world is not healthy at all. And it just added to the issues that I had. So I think that's really important when we look at that, because I think a lot of people don't look at that and say, this is a health issue. This is something that you need to go see a doctor for, not pray to an invisible being and just hope that everything's gonna work out. Like, you might as well be wishing on a star. Like, it doesn't do any good if you don't take action. So, and I'm really glad that I was able to get out of that toxic environment, because honestly, I think I would have been way worse off, and my life would have gone in a totally different direction. And yeah, it saved me in more ways than anyone could ever know. It saved my mental health, and it saved my family's mental health, and it saved my family in general, because if I hadn't gone through that and found out who I was, and figured out what I wanted in life and what my family wanted, like, I don't think my family would have stayed together. So I think, all in all, like, I know a lot of people get upset when they hear, like, atheists be like, well, my life is way better now because I'm healthier and I'm able to, like, learn things, and I'm not stuck in a cage. And I think that really frustrates Christians, because when they hear that, they're just like, you can't be happy without Christ. Like, there's no way. You have no idea. But it's actually, yeah, all the atheists I've talked to, and even agnostics and anyone who's left the church, I guess even progressive Christians, like, just changing your whole mindset definitely can make you a healthier person. And I think that is one thing that I am very grateful for, is that looking into things and actually figuring out who I was and what I wanted to believe, and not just believing things because people had told me my whole life. And yeah, it took a huge shakeup in my life for that to happen, but I'm really glad that it did, because I'm the person I want to be today. Yeah, it is. It's freeing, and I'm so happy with who I am, and I'm able to, talk to other people about who I am. And I have friends now that are very I don't know, like, they're trying to, hi, bisexual Exmo, thanks for following. Yeah, I'm very grateful for it. And I have friends from, like, college and stuff, and we talk, and we're all kind of, like, on the same page right now, because a lot of us, we went to Christian college together, and we all grew up believing these things, and now a lot of us are leaving, and we're all talking to each other and being like, how did we live this life for so long? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm just glad to have people around me that have been in the same place I have been, and the online community. I think that is a huge help, because when you leave the church, like, a lot of your life is the church, and that was my life. Like, every Sunday I was in church, and I even helped, like, youth group and all that stuff. Like, I was deep in it, and just seeing how deep I was in it, and then realizing, like, I'm literally just doing what everybody else in the church is doing, where I'm just brainwashing the next generation, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I think having kids too, like, changes you in that aspect too, because you want your kids to actually, explore and understand the world. And I know for me, once I realized that Christianity wasn't true, I was like, yeah, I don't want my kids anywhere near this environment, because it's not healthy and it's not good. And they need to be able to think for themselves, and they need to have those critical thinking skills, and I think that is so important. And that was a big talk that me and my husband had after we both had left the church, was like, my kids need to be in a better, healthier place, because telling them these things are true when they're not is not healthy. And they're going to grow up in this environment where they think, yeah, they're going to grow up in an environment where they think that they just have to, pray to God or whatever, and they're never going to get the help they need. And I think at the end of the day, them living in reality and realizing, like, that they're lucky to have the life that they have, and they need to, be open-minded, but at the same time, don't be sucked into things that are not healthy for them either. So that was a big thing for me, and I'm really glad I got them out of church. And yeah, it's really cool to talk to them now, because they're still young, but they understand so much more than you think they do. And like, I go into deep talks with my 8-year-old that you would never even think an 8-year-old would think about, but because he had been raised in that till he was like 4 or 5, like, that's still in his head, and he still has questions, but he uses the critical thinking skills he has now, and he's like, oh yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense, and why would they do that? And it's really cool to see them grow and to see them use those skills and be like, yeah, like, I need to think about that, and I need to make sure that what this is saying is true. So I enjoy those conversations, even if they're still young, and I want them to have a better life. So, and now I'm just rambling on, but yeah, guys, thanks. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about, or I can go? You guys like my new setup? I tried to make it all pretty last night. I stayed up a little. I stayed up all night. Well, not all night. I stayed up like an hour later than I normally do to like find the layout and make it all awesome. I gotta fix my green screen though. I forgot to do that before the stream, but it's fine. We'll get it done tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out this whole Twitch thing. But there's so many things that go into it, and you just don't realize it until you start doing it. Like with YouTube, I can just make my video and post it. But with Twitch, it's like, you have to be live, and you have to talk, and you have to be interesting, and yeah, so. And there's so many different programs to like use and add, and you just don't know how to do everything until you teach yourself how to do it. Or you find someone who knows how to do it and they teach you, but because I'm a mom, I don't always have the time to. Yeah, start with the one you want first, Jade, cuz. But I don't know. I didn't think I would ever like want to do live streams, cuz I'm horrible at like talking and keeping people interested like live. I can write like 10 scripts in a day and record them and make them all beautiful and then animate them, but doing live stuff is a little more tricky. But I think over time it'll get easier. I think it's one of those things that you just have to practice. And I have not practiced it very much because, most of my YouTube videos are recorded. But, thank you. Yeah. I feel like it is easier to go to other people's channels because there's other people talking. But it's a little bit harder for me because I'm not an extrovert. I'm kind of an introvert. But I'm also one of those people that, like, once I get a group of people that I'm really, like, connected with and, like, friends with and stuff, like, if you get me talking, then I don't shut up. So, like, I have to break out of my shell, and it takes me a while, but once I break out of my shell, like, I could just talk all day. And I also talk fast. Once I get going, like, I talk fast. That's one thing that I've learned, like, when I do my live videos, is, like, I'll have to slow myself down, because I'll just start, like, I'll start slow, and then I'll just keep ramping up, and I'm like, I need to, like, slow down, because I am talking so fast that my words sound like they're all together, which is not good on a video. But, yeah. I don't know why that is. That's just, I guess that's how I am. So I have to, like, slow myself down. So I think that's one thing I'm gonna have to learn for live streams, is, like, not to just keep going and start talking faster and faster and faster. But yeah, I don't know. I like doing this, and I hope I can do it more in the future. And as my kids get older and they're gonna be, like, going to school full time and stuff again, once all this COVID stuff's over, hopefully, or at least calms down, then I'll have more time, and, like, everyone will be gone, and I'll just be at home. And I'm hoping I can do this more, and I don't know, maybe make something out of it other than just, I don't know. That's my hope. We'll see. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do, because I grew up in the church, like, I never really had direction for anything. And then since I became a mom, like, I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 8 years, so it's like, I don't know if I want to go back to, like, work, or if I want to try to make, like, the online thing work, or yeah, so we'll see how it all goes. And if it doesn't all go, I'll still do the online thing. It's just, it won't be, like, a daily thing if I do find something else I want to do. But I don't know. I really like doing this. And I really like making videos. And I think, even though I'm not, like, someone who went to school and knows how to edit and everything, like, I hope I'm creative enough that I can just keep doing this for a while. So, we'll see. Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming. If anybody has anything else to talk about, I'm just babbling right now, so yeah. Thanks for coming. Hopefully I will get reading done tomorrow. I have no idea what time I'm going to do it tomorrow, because it's Saturday and I have a birthday party I have to take my kids to, so we will see how that all goes. So, I might have to do it later in the day. We'll see. Thank you everyone for coming, and I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, have a good day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend too, if I don't see you. Bye, guys. Ugh.